Yo guys, it's the JakeCraft channel. After so long of not making long form content, here I am again. And as you may notice, a lot has changed in my room, namely in the audio system. And so that is what the title of this video is talking about. And that's what I'm going to be talking about today. Just all these speakers I have around my room, because honestly, it's significantly grown over the years. And if you look back on my old videos, you might be like, wow, this is really grown. And so now I think I have about like 26 speakers around my room. So I thought might as well do like a system tour and show you guys really all that's going on, because this system is pretty impressive. So let's get started. All right, so it has been way too long. There's so much stuff on my desk. There's so much stuff everywhere. My friend's coin business I'm running. Anyway, that's besides the point. This is for a different project. But here is, well, the setup, and you can see the wall art right there. So I'll start with the speakers here, and then we'll go to, the actual amplifiers, and then the connectivity with my Mac and all that stuff. So we start up here at front with these two speakers. These are KLH 911Bs. And these are the old generation 911Bs, if you notice the tweeter, because I have the newer generation 911Bs also as front, left, and right. And you can see that tweeter is a lot cheaper. So this one is a nice, beautiful dome tweeter right there, you can see. And then this one, I don't even know what's going on in there. It's not a piezo. It does have a magnet on it, but I really don't know what they did, like crinkling up plastic in there. It doesn't sound awesome. These tweeters look as good as they sound. They're incredible, super detailed. In fact, I actually have to EQ them a little bit down because the treble is a little punchy, but it's very detailed nonetheless. And then a little story behind these, because you notice this white foam tape right here. So this enclosure actually used to have these drivers in it, and this enclosure used to have these drivers in it. And I had to put foam tape because the woofers are slightly different sizes. But the reason I did that is because this driver from the old Gen 911Bs doesn't have a lot of excursion, and so this box is sealed. And this older box that used to have those drivers in it is actually ported here on the back. And so this new Gen 911B woofer actually has a lot of excursion. So I was like, let's put that on the ported box, and let's put the not a ton of excursion on the sealed box for bass response purposes. And then this is just for loudness, basically. But these two go together to form basically front, left, and right. So that's that. We have our center channel right here. This is, I forget exactly the model number. It's a beautiful Sony one. Let me see if I can take off this grill for you to show you. All right, so just like that, the grill is off. And as you can see here, these woofers are kind of crazy. They have a ridiculously insane amount of excursion. Like, it's honestly impressive. And as you can see, it's a ported box. And then we have, it's a decent little tweeter right here. Nothing insane, but it's not as bad as these by any means. But it's okay. And this is obviously the center channel right here. And then we have, so this setup is actually technically Dolby Atmos. So I'm using these Sony SSB1000s as my elevated left and right. As you can see, there's another one over here. These are just, the high channel basically. And then we have here, these are actually also connected, but they're on a different amplifier. These ones are a pair of realistic, I forget exactly what model they are, but probably from the 80s. You can see this beautiful silk dome tweeter. This little woofer, but not really crazy bass response, but pretty good mids and like pretty good highs. It's a little bit bright on the highs, but you know, not too bad. It's a pretty decent speaker. There's another one right there, and that's basically just lifting off those two to make them higher. Basically, because I can't put speakers all up in the ceiling and all that stuff. So I just put them resting on those down here. And so those are front speakers here. As I said before, we're going to get into the amplifiers and all this other stuff, the peripherals, you know, going on over here. But if we move, so we have these, this pair of Sony, I believe they're the SS MB105Hs, I want to say. Again, crazy excursion on the drivers. Just, in fact, like the B1000s, they have like the same driver, and same with the center channel. Same driver, just different color basically. But no, yeah, these drivers are kind of crazy. So again, tweeters on these are pretty decent tweeters. Pretty detailed, not super loud. Overall, pretty balanced speaker. I would say, as typical with these Sony bookshelves like this with the port, the mids are a little loud, so you do have to tune it slightly. It's mainly in that, you know, high 200s to 300 hertz range. It's just kind of loud. It has a lot of resonance there. Same speaker here. I just put a grill on here in the middle of the Dork Diaries. Absolutely crazy bookshelf right here. That is basically this setup. And then the subwoofer of that is, of course, the old reliable JakeCraft Walmart subwoofer. This thing is still going strong. Sounds crazy. Crazy excursion. Shakes the walls as always. It's pretty insane. And so that's with, you know, the JakeCraft amplifier, as you already know. So that's this first setup that's on this lower amplifier. The second setup is on the Yamaha. So that includes the Realistics. The Realistics are not on the Sony, they're on the Yamaha. And then it also has this big Pro Audio custom speaker, this little KLH center channel with whizzer cones, might I say. You see those? Beautiful. A singular old gen 911B. You can see the port that I was talking about earlier on there. But I only got one from Goodwill because they only had one on the shelf for some reason. They didn't have a pair. I was kind of mad about that. I went to the cashier and was like, do you have any more? And they're like, nope, we only got one. So there is this singular 911B old gen in the back. And then we have this B1000 on the bottom here. This one was the first ever B1000 pair I got. And the other one is in the trash because I couldn't figure out how to open it, and let's just say I broke open the enclosure, and that was a really bad mistake. So I only have one of these. That's why I have an odd number of B1000s. The Yamaha also does this JBL Flix 1 center channel I use as back center. It's on the Yamaha, and that is supporting my Epson projector with the screen up there, as you can see. And so that's that setup. And then in terms of subwoofers, we have this amplifier dedicated to that. That's powering this Yamaha passive subwoofer. Actually pretty decent, I gotta say. Resonance is pretty nice, surprisingly, in that IKEA organizer. And then we got this, which actually doesn't have the subwoofer in it, and I modified it to have the speaker output that powers these two on the second custom JakeCraft subwoofer enclosure. These are actually two of the same drivers that this would have been in, you know, same thing. And then, if any of you remember old, like from the channel, like years and years and years ago, behind here lives the Bassbite 2, the KLH Bassbite 2. Let's just say over time that amplifier broke. So I made it a passive speaker, and that is connected to that amplifier. It still kicks. Honestly, the mids are a little... There's more mid-range on it than I would want. It's not really like low bass or anything, but it's a small ported enclosure. What do you really expect from that? So that's the subwoofers here. And then here's the desk setup. So this is the Sony STR D715. I love this amplifier. It's from like 1990, maybe 96, I don't know. But this amplifier, the A speakers on it are these two JBLs right here. And then the B speakers are, you guessed it, these other two Sony SSB1000s. These paired with that amplifier sound kind of insane. You do also, you know, have to tune down the mids. It's a little pronounced, but the treble is not super powerful and it's very detailed. There's a surprising amount of bass response on these, which shocked me when you can run these by themselves. And honestly, sometimes I've gotten away with not having a subwoofer. It's kind of crazy. Just because how much excursion those drivers have. So that's that. And then this desk setup has this JBL, home theater subwoofer on it. It's a bottom firing subwoofer, and then there's the port right there. It's active, so it has the bottom, or the back plate amp back there. And so honestly, that's pretty much the entire setup right there. So now let's talk about amplifiers. So I've upgraded over the years, of course. I remember when I used to have, it was a Sony STR DE485. That thing was, was kind of baseline, nothing to write home about, and I only had one. And so obviously it's grown significantly. So this bottom amplifier is in fact a Sony ES series amplifier. It is a STR DA4600 ES. So crazy audiophile quality right here. And I'll get to that a little bit later. This one is a Yamaha RX V630. Pretty, mid-range to kind of high-end amplifier for the time. This is like 2000, I don't even know, 6 or something. This one was more like 2010, 2011. And then this looks familiar. This is basically the brother to the D715. This is the D615. Has a few less features, less advanced display, all that kind of stuff. But same era, and it's, pretty decent. That's my amplifiers. Peripheral-wise, I have this tape player. This thing is kind of junk, I can't lie. This tape is stuck, and the motor on this one, or like the belt, it kind of is noisy, so I don't play the tapes a lot, but I do have a couple tapes right there, and some blank tapes, actually, that I can record onto if I wanted to. And then I have this DVD/video CD/CD player. The only reason I got it is because it has optical out for PCM to this amplifier, but I don't use it a lot. But this right here is one of the bigger things of the setup. This is, I forget the exact model number on this one, but it is the Sony 200 CD player. So we have a whole carousel in here. I can change which disc I want to look at, and you can see how it's kind of crazy. You can kind of scroll through here and see your whole CD collection. I don't even have 200 CDs, but there you go. It's the motorized carousel. Honestly, pretty crazy. All right, so now the main question of, well, I do have a couple CDs, a couple tapes, whatever, but I'm really going to want to connect it to my Mac, right? Because that's where I have all my no copyright music that I have to play because I've gotten way too many YouTube videos demonetized because I haven't. Anyway, so the question is, well, how does this connect to the Mac? Because it would be lame if I just had RCA cables, right? So as you notice, one of the monitors is not working, and that is because through HDMI, the Mac is connected to this bottom Sony amplifier, and that allows me to send 8 channels of 24-bit 192 kilohertz audio from the Mac to the amplifier in full Dolby Atmos quality and everything. So this setup is crazy. I can stream 8 channels independently, and so the amplifier itself doesn't have to do any processing. It's coming straight from the Mac. So basically, on Apple Music, the highest audio quality that is even on Apple Music can be played on this. Pretty crazy. And I believe it's up to 120 watts a channel, so this thing gets pretty loud. And then, so yeah, that's from the Mac. I also, if you notice, have a DAC here, because that's for like this desk amplifier that's not as crazy. But the DAC also does go to this amplifier in case I want to have this monitor and still have audio. I can run it. The DAC goes 24-bit 96 kilohertz audio. Obviously not as high of sampling rate, but still definitely lossless. So it's quite decent. And now for the audio test. You already know, we got the NCS playlist. So you really cannot hear the full craziness of this setup through YouTube, especially with the surround sound. But you know, a lot of these songs are not Atmos, obviously. So, but you control volume on here, and yeah, it's just front, left, and right, and then that subwoofer down there. So let's see if you guys can hear as crazy as this setup is. You might have to use headphones for, you know, better audio quality, but there's ultra wide so you can really see it in action. But let's see, I'll turn this up for you. Alright, shout out if you remember the Minecraft YouTuber that had that as their intro. I don't even really remember, I just remember the song. Anyway, but let me see if I can show you how much these speakers move, like, namely the B1000s. Okay, so this is just, I don't even know what this is, but let's see, I can turn up the sub so you can actually see it, as you've seen on, you know, other JakeCraft channel videos. This thing's kind of crazy, right? And that's not even full power or anything. It's just kind of, you know. So that's that, you know. So let's see if I can show you guys. I don't know how much you can really see that. A lot of air is blowing out the port, I'll just let you know that. Those are the same drivers that, for example, the center uses. Those B1000s, and then pretty much the same drivers in these surround left and right ones. So yeah, you can see how crazy those move. And then like low frequency bass response, this is actually kind of crazy on them. They move a ton. There is a teeny bit of port noise depending on what frequency you're talking about, but in general, they're actually pretty good. And so yeah, that's basically the setup right there. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the little, you know, system update video about this setup. Honestly, it's kind of insane. And considering that I've gotten like basically all these speakers from Goodwill. So the audio quality I can achieve is ridiculous. And same for that Sony ES amplifier, the main heart of my system. That was from a Goodwill auction. Like, it was online, but it's still Goodwill. So that's kind of insane that I even found an ES series amplifier on Goodwill, but there you go. That is basically the whole speaker setup in my room. As you can see, they're pretty much everywhere. And shout out to my coworker who made this for me a couple years ago. This thing is pretty awesome. It's like soft. I hope you guys enjoyed that, and I do have other projects in the works, so I hope to make videos about those. But with all that said, I hope you guys enjoyed the return of long-form videos on JakeCraft channel. I hope to make more, of course. It's kind of become something that, you know, it's been too easy to not do, because I've been busy with a lot of other things, and so it's kind of just I know I say this like every time it seems like I come back, but I really hope to show more projects on here, because, you know, I low-key am maybe an electrical engineer or something like that. So I want to show you guys all the projects. So yeah, stay tuned for those, and just like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.